revolution day 2, I guess, because at about midnight, it's already 17th of December. In Timișoara they had the army tanks on the streets and they tried to push the protesters back. Some died, figures were exaggerated, they lied about it to justify the taking of power, the FSN, the Salvation Front, the Iliescu, pretended there were 60,000 dead in the revolution. It turns out there were 1,000 and a few hundred. Most of them on account of the incompetence of the army, which was poorly trained, lack of communication between units, they shot at each other and killed each other. But also responsibility lies with the leaders, Iliescu and his bunch, because they kept calling people on the streets through the television to defend institutions, and many innocents were killed just because they went to offer help which was not needed or created more confusion and panic. But we're not there yet. We're still at the airport where things get a new look. I mean, we start to understand it because people from the embassy, from the British embassy, come at the airport knowing about this group of children, group which, by the way, reached the airwaves through Radio Free Europe and others, I don't know, BBC, mentioned this group. Romania is in turmoil, things happen in Timișoara, they learned about it, demonstration against the communist regime of Ceausescu and the tyranny. There's also a group trapped at the airport, so attention was concentrated on them from some quarters. And the embassy did a splendid job. In fact, I've always been impressed with with the way they operated. I am a fan of Victorian Britain and the British even of today. Apart from Brexit, they do a good job. And I had been a member of the British Library, which was on the premises of the embassy, by the way. And I was impressed with what they were doing, especially if we consider that they had a much smaller space, much smaller budget than the Americans. But still, I thought I could get access to more and in a better organized way at the British library than at the American embassy, which is American library, which was much larger. But coming back to the events, they came at the airport from the embassy, and when the teachers asked, what should we do? Should we stay here? Go over to the, if they open the gates, the border, and or not, what's going on? And they told them what's going on. They told them about Timișoara, that what I just mentioned. There are what looks like riots and protests against the regime, and they advised them not to. They felt things might get worse, and even if in Bucharest it was all quiet and under control, as opposed to other countries, Poland with that very famous and large movement of the solidarity. In Romania, perhaps because of the force which was greater of the Securitate, the local version of the KGB, many said Mămăligă, the people were more afraid, weaker, and less brave than their counterparts in other communist countries. For maybe all these reasons combined, the situation seemed to be under control. And it exploded. Instead of gradual protests and more dissidents as we had, and it was known to be active, force of the dissidents in countries like the Czech Republic with Václav Havel, first an important man in the opposition to the communist regime, and then the president of the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic. Here, it was not gradual, but a sort of an explosion. And alas, those who had some preparation have been active trying to become leaders on a model on Gorbachev, perestroika, glasnost, a gentler, milder form of communism, managed to take power. Iliescu and people who were preparing a Gorbachev-style leadership managed to get power. But that's for the next episode.